Hello again, my name is Peggy Moore, and I am a life coach and a school nurse. And this is part 3 of a video series called Parenting Kids with ADHD. So, parenting kids with ADHD may feel like life is a little bit of a circus, but it's really just a grand adventure and a great balancing act. So today in this video, we're going to talk about emotional regulation. What is emotional regulation? We're going to talk about the zones of regulation. That term was coined by Leah Kupfers, an occupational therapist. We're going to learn some strategies to shift our emotions from the yellow or red zone into the green or the good to go zone. And we're going to learn some skills to shift our brain from reacting with the emotional part of our brain, the primitive part of our brain, to the rational part of our brain, or the executive functioning part of our brain. So I love this quote from Ross Greene, and I use it in every video. Children do well when they can. And then when a flower doesn't bloom, we don't attempt to fix the flower, we fix the environment. Remember that every flower has its purpose, and you would never ask a daisy or a rose to be a sunflower. So emotional regulation, what is it? Emotional self-regulation or emotional regulation is the ability to respond to the ongoing demands of experiences with the range of emotions in a manner that is socially tolerable and sufficiently flexible to permit spontaneous reactions as well as the ability to delay spontaneous reactions as needed. So it's that ability to kind of control your emotions. So as I talked about a little bit previously, emotions come from the limbic center or the middle part of our brain or the primitive part of our brain. And emotions often sneak up on us. They come super fast. And in order to be able to not just react super fast, we have to start to engage the prefrontal cortex or that executive functioning part of our brain. And remember how I said kids with ADHD tend to have lagging executive functioning skills? So it takes them just a little bit longer to figure out how to control those emotions. But we're going to talk about some fun ways to help them do that. So this is the zones of regulation, and used by the pictures from the movie Inside Out, which is a Pixar movie, which I highly recommend kids to see. It really helps to explain emotions and kind of it's this kid's brain and everything that's going on in their brain, and it kind of can make it kind of click for kids. But we use the zones of regulation in our school, and it's the idea that our emotions kind of go along a spectrum, but in different zones. So if we were in the blue zone, we may be feeling sick or sad or tired or bored, and we're moving just a little bit slowly. We're not kind of up to feeling our best self and ready to learn. So green is our good to go zone. That is a zone where we feel happy, we feel calm, we're feeling focused, and we're ready to learn. Yellow is when we start to get a little overwhelmed. We start to get a little frustrated or a little nervous. He's going like this. So a little worried. We may feel a little silly or a little weakly or a little excited, and we're just kind of lost some of that control or focus that we had when we were in the green zone. And then when we're so overwhelmed and that anxiety takes over and that worry takes over, we can escalate into the red zone. When the red zone is when we're angry or we're mad or we're yelling or we're hitting or we're feeling disgusted and we're just feeling out of control because we're so overwhelmed. So I believe that all emotions are normal. We all go through these emotions. It's learning how to manage these emotions, how to feel these emotions, how to process those emotions, and try our best to keep from our red emotions and our yellow zone emotions and kind of move into that green zone emotions so that we can be productive and problem solve and think clearly and be able to feel good and be in our green zone. So when we're in that red or yellow zone, our body has a lot of things that happen to it. So when we're feeling really upset and really frustrated, our heart may start to beat fast. Our tummy may feel a little queasy. We may get a headache. Our eyes may dilate. We may feel trembling sensation in our arms or in our hands. And our skin may either feel pale and washed out, or we feel flushed and we just want to flee. But we have to realize that life is only 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we react to it. So it's learning how to manage those emotions and react in a way that is appropriate, flexible to the situation, and that brings us the most comfort and peace. So we teach our kids tools, and we call them putting tools in your toolbox. So there's lots of different tools we can use to help manage those emotions when we're feeling like we're in the red or yellow zone and we want to move into that green zone so that we're able to think more clearly and problem solve a little better. So number one is helping children, recognize their emotions. What emotion are you feeling right now? Whether it be angry or surprised or silly or happy or sad or shy. Practicing those facial expressions, helping your child to read those facial expressions on others helps them with that social competence. Helps them know how to have socially appropriate behavior. So, and then helping them with this language, explaining to them different words they can use for different emotions. So instead of just always saying I'm angry, being able to say I'm frustrated or I'm hurt or I didn't like that, but being able to explain it a little more. After we recognize our emotions, then we can take a time out. Taking a time out to just take a breath. Teaching some breathing skills. But also having a place in our mind that is peaceful. So this is a beautiful picture of the beach. And maybe right now I'm feeling frustrated and irritated and angry because things aren't just going my way. But I can take a minute and I can picture this beautiful scene of the beach, and it automatically helps me feel a little bit calmer. We can also do 5-finger breathing. I love this strategy and I use it with my elementary kids all the time. So 5-finger breathing is holding, we say take 5. So take 5 for 5-finger breathing. They hold their hand out like this. With their other hand, they take their index finger and we breathe in to the top of the finger, and then we breathe out. And then we breathe in and we breathe out 5 times. When you breathe in and out 5 times, you're able to regulate your breathing. So remember, in that fight or flight, our heart was beating fast, our breathing was a little fast. This helps us not only regulate our breathing, but it also gives us those 5 seconds that we're in the red or the yellow zone to kind of calm ourselves down, move closer to the green zone so we can actually talk about our feelings and use some problem solving skills. Next is grounding. I also use this with my elementary students. So my students will come in and they'll be overwhelmed because of all the noise in the cafeteria or the noise in the music room, or they just had an argument with one of their friends and it's making them feel a little tight in their tummy or tight in their shoulders, or their head is bothering me. So they'll come to see the nurse. So there's a couple different things. I have a rocking chair that we can rock back and forth, and it's kind of like that 5-finger breathing. You've got that 1, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, focusing on that breathing, but also grounding is putting your feet on the floor and feeling the floor. Taking your hands and putting your hands on the desk or your hands on your chair and really feeling that sensation of that chair or your desk. Focusing on something. So instead of being upset and your mind's just going all crazy, looking at something on the wall. So I'm looking at that carousel and focusing on that. What are 5 things that I can do to describe that carousel? Well, there's a horse, and there's 3 different horses, and they have 3 different blankets or saddles on them, and they're different colors, and two of them are kind of slightly higher than the other. So as I'm focusing on some other aspect and I'm naming like 5 things about that, it gives my mind the ability to focus and calm down, and then I'm able to talk. That is causing me or created the feelings in me that took me to that yellow or red zone. So we talk about this triangle a lot, and the feelings of being anxious or frustrated, having that stomach ache or that buzzing in your head, those feelings in that part of your brain where your emotions are can lead to behavior. And those feelings of frustration can lead to avoidance or crying or being explosive. And that leads to the thought that I had that I just don't understand this. This is so hard. I'm so frustrated. I'm so overwhelmed, which leads to those feelings of being anxious or having that stomach ache or that buzzing in your head, which leads to that behavior. This is called the CBT model. So those thoughts in my brain that I don't understand, it's so hard, I'm frustrated, it's stupid, I'm worried, lead to those feelings, leads to that behavior. And a lot of my students, and the reason I put the feelings at the top is a lot of my students, because I'm the school nurse, come to me with that stomach ache or the buzzing in their head or the stress in their shoulders. And we need to be able to talk about those feelings, how those thoughts are expressed in our body so that we can understand it a little better and break the pattern. So they may have those feelings before they even realize their thoughts. So they're having those feelings, which are creating the behaviors of them avoiding or crying or getting upset in class because of their thoughts, but they haven't really thought that out. So our job as parents, as teachers, as a school nurse, is to help them get to this point so that they understand that why. The why we talked about, those thoughts. What are the thoughts going on in their head that are creating those feelings and leading to that behavior? So those stomach ache and that headache and that buzzing in their head is automatic and reflexive, and it comes on fast. It's that emotional part of the brain. Our behavior, we need to ask ourselves, do these behaviors make us feel better or worse? So if I'm crying and being explosive and being frustrated and stamping my feet and throwing things around the room, is that behavior making me feel better or worse? Is it socially acceptable in the classroom to have those behaviors, or am I going to have some kind of consequences for those behaviors? So as I'm thinking about that, and I'm asking myself, well, it's because I just don't understand, or because it's just so hard, or because I'm feeling stupid. I need to ask myself, is this true? Can I dispute this thought? And that's helping our children to be able to recognize what thoughts are causing these emotions or what emotions are causing these thoughts and these behaviors, and how can we stop the process and change it. So helping our children learning about the zones, about the red zone, the yellow zone, the green zone, and the blue zone, helping them learn to name their emotions, to be able to say, I feel sad, I feel frustrated, I feel overwhelmed, I feel angry, I feel hurt. And then get from those that emotional part of your mind to your rational part of your mind. So I'm having these feelings, but why am I having these feelings? I have this feeling in my stomach or in my gut, and it's because my thoughts are telling me that I can't do this. This is too hard. This is too overwhelming. And then using those strategies to work out those solutions. So talking about those thoughts in our head and how we can change those thoughts, how we can have more of a growth mindset and a growth mentality, using those strategies to stop that emotion in our limbic center, our emotional part of our brain. So stopping and grounding, focusing on something in the room, naming 5 things, putting our feet on the ground, touching the coolness and hardness of the desk, or our 5-finger breathing. So taking that time to take 5 and to inhale and exhale so that we can get our emotional mind ready to use our rational mind to be able to problem solve. I hope you guys can work on these strategies with your kids this week, and I will see you in the next video.